Hi, welcome to my channel. It's Claire here from Inky Inspiration, and today's card is this amazing flip card. So my sister is having a baby. It's due any day now. In fact, by the time this video comes out, she may have already arrived. So this is the creation for them. So I'll show you how to do it. If you haven't already, can I please ask that you hit that like and subscribe button, and all measurements I'll put in my blog post, which I'll link in the description below. So for the mechanism itself, you want a sheet of card which is 6 by 2.5, and you're going to score that at half, at 1, at 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 5 and 5.5. I will link all this into the blog post below, so the measurements will all be there for you. But that's half, 1, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 5 and 5.5. And then in this big block here, between the 3.5 and the 5, I want you to go down every 1/8 of an inch. This is just so that it will bend better as it goes, as you pull it through the card. I've tried various different ways, but honestly this is the easiest that I get the most fluid movement on. And same here, so between 1 and 2 3/4 down each 1/8 of an inch. I then want you to slowly bend each of these, so it's going to end up a bit of an arch. You then want a piece of card which measures 5 by 3 3/4, and you're going to put a little mark at 1 1/4 and 3 3/4 top and bottom. So 1 1/4, 3 3/4. Take your mechanism that you've made and bend so that you've got a tab like so, and we're going to put glue on here. I then want you to lay it so that your second score line here is just hanging over, well, about on line with the top and in between them little dots that you've put. And that should be top and bottom. So in between my dots. Now flip it over and fold these so that you're folding your score lines. So 1, 2, and they want to be mountains, top and bottom. So mountain, mountain. Open it back out, and on this middle panel here, this bottom panel here, you need to put some glue. Put a piece of card which measures 3 1/4 by 3.5, and you want your 3 1/4, so your long edge at the top, and you're gonna push it up onto that glue so that it's in line with your score line there that you did, which should have been a 1/2 inch one. Now fold your mechanism up and put glue again on the second panel down, so this one here. And you want a second piece of card which measures 3 3/4 by 3.5. And you're going to push that up to that score line and keep it in line with the one that you stuck down originally. So once you're happy that they're stuck down, I've put 2 layers of double-sided tape on here. And then I'm going to put my pull tab on. So fold these back on themselves so that they're both pointing down. And you want to put glue on here and here. And you want to cut yourself a piece of card which measures 2.5 by 5.5. And then you're going to glue your 2 by 4.5 onto these 2 bits here. Line it up. So you don't want to see it sticking over the top. And and then just leave that to dry for a few minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to create the card base, and to do that, I've got a sheet of card which measures 5 3/4 by 11 1/2. I'm going to score that at 5 3/4. Mats and layers for the front. So my mat here is 5 1/2 by 5 1/2, and my patterned paper is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. The patterns paper that I've used, that I've chosen, is a Daisy May Designs one called Simply Stripes. And I'm just going to bob that on the front there. While they're drying, I'm just going to slowly bend that over so I can get to this bit here. So my mats and layers for this are 4 3/4 by 3 1/2 for my purple, and then my white is 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. I've die cut out some baby blocks, which is out of the Made to Surprise baby stamp and die set. I've used the Simple Stripes paper again. I think the little rainbow could be a Time for Tea Designs, but the letters and the edging I found in my scrap bucket, so I can't actually tell you what they are. And I've put some Nouveau drops in Dusty Rose. So I'm just going to glue this onto this panel here. And the way that I've put the baby, you shouldn't be able to see it when the top flaps down. So on my prototype, I laid it all down. So I'll show you what I mean. This is my prototype. So what I did was I just laid my card down and flipped that over to ensure that you couldn't see it. So, oh, I've got glue on the front of there now. Bob that on there. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in a moment when I pull this down. So push that up. See what I mean? You can't see the baby sign. So give this a little tug to make sure that it's going to work. And it is. So my mats and layers for this top one here is 3 3/4. Sorry, it isn't. It's 3 1/2 by 3 1/4. And onto there is going to go a piece of white, which is 3 1/4 by 3. And for this, I have used, what have I used on this one? The Baby Surprise stamp set. So I've used the stalk, and it's a girl, coloured it with some Copic. And again, I've used the Nouveau drops. So I'll speed you up while I glue this bit down. So carefully then slide it through so that your bottom piece is on top. And again, you want the same measurements. So your mat is 3 1/2 by 3 1/4. And your stamped white is 3 1/4 by 3. And again, I've used the stamps and dies from the Baby Surprise set. You've got the Dusty Pink Nouveau drop, and for the milk I've used some glossy accent. So slide that up. Now these ones underneath, you only see them as they go over, but you don't want them plain, so I'm putting some images on there as well. Carefully flip these back, fold them back on themselves, and the mat and layer for this is 2 3/4 by 3 1/2, and the white is 2 1/2 by 3 1/4. And again, I've just used the Baby Love stamps, and I'll glue this one onto here, so I'll speed you up. Then the final bit of decoration is for the pull tab. So if you flick that back up on itself, and you've got this strip here. My mat and layers for here is 2 1/4 by 4 3/4 for the lilac, and 2 by 4 1/2 for the white. Again, I've used the dies from the Made to Surprise baby set. I've finished that with some Nouveau drops, and I've used the pull here, which is off the Push Me Pull You stamp set. I'm going to bob that to one side to dry for a moment. While that's drying, I'm going to bob another mat and layer inside my card So my mat measures 5.5 by 5.5. I've got a sheet of white, which is 5.25 by 5.25. And again, I've just used that same die there. And then I can write my message to my sister. So once we're happy that this is all dry and it's not going to fall to bits, we need to carefully peel off the backing tape. And then with your flat pointing down, so it's tucked nicely underneath, and I'm going to put 3 layers. Now I've put the Nouveau drops on, I think I need an extra layer. So I've put that extra layer on to give me that extra bit of dimension. And then I'm just going to put it so that I'm in line at the top. I'm not going to push it down just yet because I want to make sure that I'm happy with where it is, which I'm not. It's not straight. About there. Push it down. And then you are going to need a box envelope. There we have it. I really hope you enjoyed that. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.